Black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all. I'm blickety black, blacker than black, black.
Welcome back to the Lassiter Factor Black History Month movie review special, and today I'm going to talk about a movie that came out back in 2019 that I've been meaning to watch for quite a long time, but one of my good friends, he suggested I watch it, and now I'm finally watching it, and we are going to talk about Waves, which is directed by Trey Edward Schultz, who has made other films such as Krisha, It Comes at Night, and this is his third film, Waves. Now, after watching this film, I gotta say, it is not an easy watch at times, but this movie is really like two movies into one, which is actually good because this movie does add to the experience of watching this movie, in which the first half of this movie, you follow Kelvin Harris Jr.'s character, Tyler, who is a wrestling star in his school. He has everything, even the hot girlfriend. And then there's his family. He has a sister named Emily, a stepmom named Catherine, and his overbearing father, Ronald, who is played by Sterling K. Brown, which is really the first reason why I really want to watch this movie, because Sterling K. Brown, he's one of my favorite actors out right now. Now, before I continue, I don't think there's really no way for me to explain how I feel about this movie without getting into the plot of this movie step by step. So consider this a spoiler warning, because I really feel like I have to convey how much I like this movie and the experience I had with this movie by spoiling the plot. So if you don't want to watch this review, you just want to go into this movie cold, hey, that's totally fine, because I actually went into this movie cold and that just added to the experience. And so, like I said, you have Tyler, played by Calvin Harris Jr., who is a wrestling star. He is the popular kid in school. He even has the beautiful girlfriend, played by Euphoria actress Alexa Demi. But the first half of this movie is basically around him and how things just start to go wrong. And I do like how this movie basically touches on what it's like to be a young black teenager with having the world on your shoulders, and especially when you have all the pressures coming from your parents, more specifically your dad. And he does say in the movie, like, us as black folks, we have to work twice as hard. It kind of resembles something that Papa Pope said on the show Scandal when he was talking to Olivia Pope.
You have to be what?
Twice.
What?
Twice as good.
Twice as good as them to get half of what they have.
And it's definitely more prominent here, especially for us black men when we are teenagers, and really just in general. But anyways, he has the world on his shoulders, and things just start to go wrong because he has an injury that ends his wrestling career. His girlfriend gets pregnant, and at first they want to get an abortion, but she decides she wants to keep it. But then that relationship, it takes a turn for the worst, and then they break up. She basically ghosts him and blocks him, and then he starts drinking and doing drugs heavily. He starts to get into it with his family, and then one night he goes on a drunken high tirade. He goes out and he Instagram stalks his ex-girlfriend, and then she stalks her on the night of a dance. And then things go wrong, and he accidentally kills her. The authorities come for him, and he basically goes to jail for life and is eligible for parole in 25 years. And so with all this tragedy happening, that's when the movie shifts to the perspective of his sister Emily, played by Taylor Russell, and she's pretty much there to pick up the pieces within her family while the family's trying to figure out what should I have done different, and everybody's just all depressed, and she finds solace in a guy she meets, played by Lucas Hedges. But I also like how the director of this movie basically described this movie. It's basically the first half of this movie is pain, and then the second half of this movie is basically healing. It's about how this family deals with trauma in light of tragedy. Calvin Harris Jr., he was excellent in the first half of this movie, where he is just going through it. I had massive anxiety while I was watching the first half of this movie, and I'm like, yo, what are you doing? And then he does something else. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? Though I will say the first half of this movie is the strongest. In the second half of this movie, even though I understand it, I feel like it was kind of the weakest. And then the people that play their parents, Sterling K. Brown and Renee Ellis Goldsberry. And I like what they do with those two in the movie, because you can tell like those two, they have their own little separate thing going of all the pressures that Sterling K. Brown's character put on his son, and then everything that Renee Ellis Goldsberry's character, she's the stepmom, but at the same time, you can tell that she accepted this family and she accepted the kids as her own, and she's trying to keep the peace and balance within the family, but then things are not going wrong. And in Sterling K. Brown's character, he's not as good as he thinks he is. Alexa Demi in this movie, like I said, the only thing I really saw her in was Euphoria, and I didn't even know she was in this other movie called Mid-90s, which I have seen. But the best way I could describe her character in this movie is she's kind of like a character on Euphoria, except she's just a little bit more level-headed. And I want to talk about the director of this movie, in which I did not know it was a white man. And it's funny because originally this was going to be a white family, but then he decided at the last minute for it to be a black family. He thinks the movie would have been more effective if it was a black family. And right, indeed, it was, because this movie definitely spoke to me. And I love the filmmaking that he put on display in this film. Like there's filming techniques where the camera's just going around and around in a 360, especially in cars. And I gotta touch on the music in this movie, because I feel, as I was watching this movie and anytime a song came on, I felt like this movie was speaking to all my favorite songs from the 2010s. Because I swear, this might as well have been the playlist of my life during the 2010s, because they didn't play songs from A$AP Rocky, Tyler the Creator, Kid Cudi, Kendrick Lamar. Hell, there's even a song in the movie by Tame Impala, in which, as someone who is a huge Tame Impala fan, 2019 me would have never have known that was a Tame Impala song. But now that I've listened to Tame Impala and listened to all 4 of their albums, and I heard that song in the beginning, I'm like, yo. If you have not seen Waves, I highly recommend it. This movie is not an easy watch, but definitely a watch worth having. The performances alone, the filmmaking alone, and just the experience alone will leave you speechless after watching this movie. I'm going to give Waves the hands up emoji because it is a masterpiece.